Welcome to our cum laude sponsored assembly. Each year, our chapter sponsors an invited talk featuring a distinguished member of the MBS community. This Tuesday, 27 April, we will formally induct 13 new seniors into the Cum Laude Society, whom we celebrate for their academic accomplishments. They are Ari Bursch, Hannah Blake, Justin Green, Anil Kalan, Sarah Karbachinsky, Samuel Kasman, Terrence Luongo, Kimberly Magnata, Catherine Miles, Olivia Amelchuk, Mikhail Patankar, Timothy Shitroma, and Kaylin Williams. We're delighted to have Mr. Scott Tannen as our cum laude speaker this morning. Interested students are invited for a post-address Q&A outside, appropriately distanced and masked, and we'll have a little bit of time at the end of Mr. Tannen's talk. I'm excerpting here from a most impressive bio. Mr. Tannen attended our fair school, class of '95, before graduating from Vanderbilt University in Nashville. He has 3 daughters, all of whom attend MBS, and he is a trustee of our school. Mr. Tannen is CEO and founder of Ball & Branch, the world's leading luxury and sustainable home brand. A seasoned and innovative entrepreneur, he is recognized for both commercially and socially disrupting the textile industry for the good by launching the world's first line of fair trade certified bedding in 2014 with his co-founder and wife, Missy. Under Mr. Tannen's leadership, Ball & Branch experienced meteoric growth, becoming the world's largest online retailer of bedding and attracting a $100 million investment from renowned private equity firm L. Chatterton in 2019. Additionally, Ball & Branch has been recognized globally as the market standard bearer in sustainability, not only becoming the largest producer of fair trade organic cotton in the world, but creating a unique supply chain that has elevated tens of thousands of farmers and factory workers in the developing world above the poverty line. Always living their values, in the early days of the COVID-19 crisis, Ball & Branch manufactured and donated 7,800 mattresses and pillows to emergency medical operations and pop-up hospitals in the New York City area, while donating over $150,000 to Habitat for Humanity in October 2020. Prior to Ball & Branch, Mr. Tannen was instrumental at Nabisco Craft Foods in creating a digital marketing organization, one of the first in the Fortune 100, and evolving brands including Altoids, Planters, and Oreo, enabling them to thrive in the digital age. He moved to Wrigley, where he built and led their global digital marketing group. After Wrigley, Mr. Tannen founded FunTank in 2007, which he then merged with digital media agency WDDG. This venture became the world's leading publisher of casual games and served as the digital agency for Lego, Duncan Hines, American Express, Coty Fragrances, and many more. Mr. Tannen received Ernst & Young's Entrepreneur of the Year in 2016, Gold and Bronze Clio Awards, multiple Cannes Lions, One Show Pencils, Gold Effies, and recently the 2020 Goldman Sachs Builders and Innovators Award. Welcome, Mr. Tannen.
Wow, all that, and I got a D in physics my senior year when I was at Mo Baird, so it is not lost on me the incredible irony to be speaking here on a day that's sponsored by the Cum Laude Association Award. I don't even really know what it was. I was talking to the folks ahead of time because it was a pretty far reach for me. But you know, as they say, it may not be about how you start, it's how you finish. And so I thought I'd take a little bit of time today, tell you guys a bit about my story, and hopefully leave you with some thoughts on you know, especially for you seniors, on you know, what the future holds and you know, and the benefit that I have now of 25 plus years of sort of being able to reflect on MBS and what it meant to me. But I'm gonna fly pretty quickly through this. What I will say generally when I present is I don't really know what's gonna come out of my mouth before it does. I do know that I'm gonna be very careful about anything having to do with my 3 girls, Sophie, Brooke, and Haley, who are students here, as I have been so warned. Anyway, so I grew up in Bernardsville. I was a Cub Scout, and apparently I like to eat cakes. Apparently I still do. You know, and the beginning of my life is kind of interesting in that, you know, as I reflect back on where I am today, I was the benefit of just being given a lot of confidence from my parents, my family, my friends, and while I face challenges, and we all face challenges, different parts in our life, it's that baseline that carries us through. But in 1989, few kind of big things happened. The Berlin Wall fell. If you don't know what a Game Boy is, but those of you who instead of listening to me are just playing games on your phone, I don't hate, I respect. But it started because of that thing, and of course, as we all know, Taylor Swift was also born in 1989, which again, we know Mr. and Mrs. Caldwell, huge fans. He and she are retiring, as you know, to travel the country with old T Swift. But in 1989, this good-looking, scrawny kid with an unfortunate Rutgers Snoopy T-shirt on enrolled here at Morristown Bayard. At the time, it was 7th grade, was the first year, and I was. My sister went to public school. I kind of struggled academically a little bit, and my parents felt that I might benefit from smaller class sizes, which means they thought I was lazy and thought that in smaller class sizes I would have less opportunity to be lazy. What's interesting is, I learned a lot about myself at this school, and I learned the things I'm good at and the things I'm not good at. From the trivial of, I learned I was pretty good at soccer. I learned I wasn't very good at basketball. Coach Franz actually sat me down junior year, and he's like, "Listen, dude, it's just not happening. But if you want to have a uniform and kind of stay on the team and that kind of stuff and not play, we'd love to have you." And I was like, "Really? I got a uniform?" He's like, "No, you weren't supposed to pick that option." But but anyway, so but academically, I found myself really excelling in certain things. I was good at talking, right? Right now I'm doing what I do best, which is talk incessantly, whether or not it makes sense or not. Good at writing creatively. Wasn't real good at the math stuff. And it's funny, I when I stopped playing basketball, I was looking for something to do, and my all-time favorite teacher, and if you ever have the chance or have had the chance to take a class from Mr. Finn, you know why he is my all-time favorite teacher I've had at any academic institution ever, from kindergarten right through college and so forth. And he probably doesn't remember this, but he inspired me when I was a student, and we had a change in head of school at the time. And I'm not foreshadowing anything. But our change in head of school was from Mr. Anderson to Dr. Mules. And Dr. Mules came in, and like new heads of schools may want to do, they wanted to make some changes. And I was very frustrated because I saw some of the things that I loved about the school in terms of the traditions being sort of changed and taken away. And I was a junior at the time that the transition happened. And I remember saying something about it, and Mr. Finn said, "Well, you should write an article for the newspaper about it." And so I did. What I didn't realize is that I kind of wrote a takedown article on the head of school, which it wasn't really a takedown. I'm a pretty friendly guy. But it was the first opportunity I had to express myself through writing, creativity, and actually focusing on what I believed and I felt and finding a way to express it out in the world. Little did I know then that was something that would carry me forward. But Mr. Finn encouraged me to get involved in Contemporary Music Workshop, or CMW, which I believe you still have. And again, very similar to Mr. Franz, he had to have the talk with me when I tried to find any instrument possible I could play. And he's like, "Hey, there's a Spotlight. Are you interested in running that?" My kids like to make fun that I ran the Spotlight, but I ran that Spotlight like nobody else. Anyhow, but most importantly during my time at Morristown Bayard and early in my time here, and I like to say in many ways, this is where Morristown Bayard saved my life. So yes, some people thought I was lazy. I struggled academically, but I had a math teacher, Mrs. Schluter, who realized that there were certain math concepts that I wasn't getting. And as I advanced into geometry and things like that, there were certain things that she thought should make sense to me and weren't. So I got tested and found out that I had been, obviously I'm dyslexic, right? I actually have a number of learning differences. And I realized at that time, one very important lesson, that I wasn't perfect. Reality came to me at that point, which said, listen, things happen easily for some folks. Other things aren't easy. It took a lot for me to work with that, and I could spend all day talking about why I believe being dyslexic is my superpower. It is the single reason I've had any success professionally in life, because the way I think is different, and that's given me a distinct advantage. I know a lot of folks within the school are challenged by having learning differences, and I will tell you, you have a supporter and a friend and a phone call in me, and several of you have reached out. Part of life is learning what you're good at and what you're not good at, what you love, where you're passionate, and how you can apply yourself in those ways. And finding that I had these learning challenges at an early point, as challenging as it was, as difficult as it was to consistently see grades on my transcript to say, why is this kid getting an A in honors history? You know, and he cannot tell you which side of a triangle is longer than the other. You know, and it's still something I face today. I can't putt, I can't play pool. You want to take money from me? Play me in pool. You will win all of my money. And I could go on all day, but I'll move over that. But, you know, this is one of my favorite quotes, and I'll actually read it to you guys. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. This approach has never let me down and has made all the difference in my life. Steve Jobs, as you all know, is the founder of Apple. He's also another very proud, or was another very proud dyslexic. And, you know, as I think about, there are times in your life, right, where you feel like everybody's zigging, and you have to zag because you've got to find a way to play to your strengths, play to your interests, and those sorts of things. And my experience at Maubert and the truth I was able to absorb, not to bum me out, but to recognize that I had certain strengths that made me different and unique. Finding ways to sort of bet on myself and push myself became a theme for my life. And I'm sure you all read the book, The Little Engine That Could. I always feel that book was a bit about me. So I'll speed through the rest of my life because that incredible introduction was, I mean, I didn't even know I did half of that stuff, by the way. So I went to Vanderbilt. Let me tell you how I got into Vanderbilt. I applied early decision. I was deferred. I got waitlisted. During the course of the process, I met with, I think, 11 different deans at the school. I probably wrote 20, 30 letters. I put together a presentation. It was super over the top and annoying, I'm sure. But so I think I beat them into submission. But I knew I wanted to go to Vanderbilt. And I knew I was borderline whether I could. And instead of just taking the status quo and basic approach, I had a number of folks here at Morristown Baird that said, if you want something, go out and get it. And what I realized then, that was the best lesson anybody could have taught me. And it was a lesson that, frankly, I didn't think I was successful with. And I remember my dad saying something to me at some point where he said, you know, even if it doesn't work out, you've been successful because you've actually just marketed and mobilized yourself. Speaking of marketing myself, if any of you know my wife, Missy, you'll know that is the single greatest marketing achievement of my life, is somehow convincing her to marry me. And we are 20 years married as of a couple weeks ago, and you know, she's my everything, and we have built this incredible story together. Giving you the real quick track on you know, I found myself out of college. My very first job was taking resumes that were mailed in and scanning them. That was it. That was the whole job. So 3 days in, with 1 trillion paper cuts, wanting to shoot myself because of the paper cuts, I bought a book on how to build websites, because I was like, this would be a whole lot easier if people would just email in their resumes. This is the late 90s, guys. We all, not everybody even had an email address and used the internet and stuff. So the idea of electronically sending anything was kind of a thing, right? So to make a long story short, that was great. But once I built that website, I no longer had a job. But fortunately, someone said, well, is there a way to use the internet to sell cookies and crackers and candy and all that stuff? So again, being somebody that maybe is a bit of a nonconformist, I had to figure out how to market products online. And I was 22 years old, surrounded by brilliant people that have MBAs from Harvard and everywhere else at Nabisco. And I started with a big imposter complex. Why am I here? I'm not good enough. What do I know? And at some point, I just decided to bet on myself and go for it. So really had a unique opportunity to take these brands that had been built over hundreds of years and help them modernize. And further, as I went to Wrigley, had the opportunity to launch 5 Gum, which hopefully you guys have heard of. Built a really interesting program for Wrigley with Chris Brown and Julianne Hough, which was awesome until Chris Brown beat up Rihanna and we had to kill it. But if you know the song Forever by Chris Brown, that was not a song. That was written as an ad, and we got him to do that. So a lot of really cool stuff to do. I'm going to fly through. So how do I get into gaming? Well, when I'm at Nabisco, I realized, when people said, well, we're going to have a website, and we're going to get people to come and research all about this candy. And again, being 22, 23, and not knowing better, I was like, really, I don't think kids want to come and find out that all candy is made from different amounts of sugar and water, and that's pretty much it. So the idea was, what do we give kids? And again, this is before childhood obesity became a thing. Like, I was pre that, which caused the problem. But we gave free video games to kids online, and we put advertising throughout it. So we launched a website called candystand.com, which within 5 years became one of the 100 most visited websites in the world. It was certainly, it was somewhere between 25 and 30 million people a month would come to the site and play, which was awesome. Until the iPhone came out and nobody wanted to play games on the internet. And trust me, cool math games, not that cool. Our games are way better. But anyway, so I ended up spinning. Candy Stand became so big, spun it out of Wrigley, and had the opportunity to build a gaming company. So for about 3 or 4 years, my parents used to tell me, you play video games so much, what are you ever going to do with that? I was like, what's up now? So we made over 250 games. At one point, we had 5 of the top 10 games on the iPhone in Japan. Not sure how that happened. Nobody in the US really liked them, but the Japanese loved it. I was like the David Hasselhoff of Japan. And so had the opportunity to sell the company to Publishers Clearinghouse in late 2010, which is an interesting moment when you build a business that somebody else wants badly enough that they're willing to pay money for it. So really incredible moment for me personally. It was a moment in time where I looked and said, I might have been doubted throughout my life, but I've done something that the Wall Street Journal wants to write about, and I felt really good about myself. 3.5 weeks later, my mom got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. There were no warning signs. There was nothing. I went from this incredible high of professional achievement to realizing that what mattered most in my world of my mom, I had lost my dad actually a few weeks before my college graduation. So here, I was facing somebody who was not just my mother, but my children's grandmother that they were incredibly close to, and knowing that days were numbered at that point. And it shook me down to my core, right? And I found myself at a point in time where, I was very lucky in that she found out early enough that I spent about a year with her. Obviously hoping against hope that she could last as long as possible, but with the reality that it wasn't going to end positively. So I wanted to maximize that time. And if you ever have opportunities in life where you're faced with the mortality of someone you love, or God forbid yourself, you can choose to cry on your pillow, and trust me, I did a heck of a lot of that, and I still do, because I miss her every day. But I spoke to my mom differently in that point in time than I ever had before. We spoke as adults, and I wanted to know everything that she believed and felt, and I took that with me, and it fundamentally changed the course of my life. And my mom always used to tell me to follow the golden rule. That was something she said from the time I was young, and she always used to say, I don't care how successful you think you are, I only care that you're kind. And but she talked a lot about leaving the world a little better than I found it. And she's like, gosh, Scott, you've done so much. You've kind of defied the odds. You had a lot of people that said you might never go to college, you might do this, and now you've been successful, or quote unquote successful. But are you really successful? Do you feel successful? What have you done? And how is this world better than you found it? That was almost 10 years ago. The games I made, they don't exist anymore. The marketing programs I built, you can't find them. You have to Google pretty hard. Trust me, I Google pretty hard all the time for my ego. But they're not there. So this stuck with me. And after she passed, I knew that it was time to think about how I could take the skills that I've developed, the things that I love to do, and try to leave the world a little bit better place. And I think we're in an incredibly unique time in the world now, and have been for the last 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, where there is a coming together of personal success and societal and social success. And I think that being a strong member of society and also finding professional success, or success in whatever that happens to be in life, as a parent, as a teacher, as a friend, as anything, right? These things go hand in hand. And so at that point, I realized that there is an opportunity to apply my skills. So to make a very, very, very long story short, my wife and I started a company called Boll & Branch, and Boll & Branch is, and I'll read you because this is our mission statement, and I think it symbolizes things pretty well. We make home textiles to the highest standard of care, creating better quality products for you, a better way of life for our workers, and a better world to live in. We're the largest buyer of organic fair trade cotton. All of our processes are toxin-free, and our workers are paid fair and living wages. When you choose Boll & Branch, you feel the difference, and your choice makes a difference. When we started Boll & Branch, there have been plenty of other companies that make bed sheets, right? In fact, if I asked you guys what brand of bed sheets you have on your bed, you probably don't know. Maybe you'll call out, I think they're from Bed Bath & Beyond or whatever. We thought about a category that everybody, at all socioeconomics, to some extent plays in, right? We all have sheets on our bed. Hopefully we all have beds, and hopefully we all have sheets on those beds. But that symbolizes something that we saw as an opportunity. Well, what if we reinvented how those bed sheets were made? What if we could create a product by applying our smarts and ingenuity and understanding as business people, and found a way to actually lift people up? The sweatshirt you're wearing, the shoes you're wearing, the socks you're wearing, somebody made those. Your life's better because you're wearing it, right? You come in today and someone says your outfit's cute or whatever. But somebody made that. How's their life? How do they think about it? Do they even know? Do they even understand? And those kinds of ideas really, really set with me. And I felt that Boll & Branch could be both an opportunity to create a really, really great business and great products that people love, but do it in a way where everybody that comes into contact with that product, their life is better as a result. So today we have over 50,000 cotton farmers around the world that we're buying the cotton from. We're not paying the commodity price, which is if you jumped on Wall Street Journal and looked up the commodity price of cotton. We pay the price that equivalents to the living wage. If farmers sell cotton at the commodity price, they live below the poverty line. That's not okay for us. We pay our workers in our factories, again, not the minimum wage, which generally keeps people in a cycle of poverty, but we pay them at the living wage. We want to make sure that everybody that comes into our product, in touch with our products, including the consumer, is better for it. Sorry about that. I'm vaccinated. So I know I'm running low on time here, and I'm a little bit scattered, but if I could leave everybody with one thing, is that some of you have reached your peak, especially those of you who are entering cum laude. I mean, you have excelled at a young age when many others haven't. Some of you haven't. Some of you haven't hit your stride yet. But the one commonality we all have is that we've got a lot more life to live, knock on wood, than we've lived so far. And you have an opportunity when you think about betting on yourself, when you think about dreaming, when you think about trying to go out and achieve something. Trust me, I am the CB student from Morristown Baird. You all met Jamie a couple years ago. 100% of people in the room would have known Jamie would have been back on the stage one day. We didn't know that he'd reinvent the doorbell, but we knew he was going to do something. I don't think there were a lot of people that would have thought that about me, but I thought it. And that was good enough, and it's carried me this far. And so those of you who have differences in learning, those of you who are struggling with your SATs, those of you who are giving a great effort but can't seem to get it all together, just know you've got a lot of life to live, and you've got yourself to bet on, and you're coming from a place in Morristown Baird that is giving you an unbelievable advantage that you don't even realize yet, because you've had an opportunity to find yourself. You've had an opportunity to be really honest with yourself, and I hope that all of you walk away with a fraction of what I've gotten out of this place, and continue to get out of this school, is seeing my girls enjoy it so much. So we have some time for questions. I'm an open book. You can ask me anything. Are we good to move to questions?
Yes. If anyone has a question, raise your hand. Feel free.
We got one in the back. Sure. So the question is, with my first website I created, how did we market it and profit off of it? Which website are you talking about? Oh, okay. So in that case, what we did is we had, it wasn't really a case of needing to market it. Nabisco as a company had 20,000 employees, loads of jobs, sales jobs all over the world. So what we needed to do is actually sell it internally and market it internally. So I had to get everybody to be comfortable with creating accounts, essentially, to be able to view resumes online, which was harder, right? This is old school business. People were used to having an assistant print it out and use a highlighter and that sort of thing. So, it was more about showing people and teaching people in those days. I think the game has changed a little bit, right? Using websites is ubiquitous. Everybody already uses them for everything, from buying socks to sheets to whatever. And so marketing any site, any content of any kind, is about finding niches and audiences where you're providing a solution to their problem, and your website in and of itself is a service. That service may be entertainment, but it's a service. So it's, it's not about just shouting it from the rooftop. It's about figuring out, okay, you group of people would be really interested in this. This is what it is, and hope that it can kind of virally spread from there. Does that answer the question? Okay.
I'm somewhat of an entrepreneur myself, so I'm wondering, do you go with an entrepreneurship problem? Program at Vanderbilt, what was your major that you kind of on this path to doing what you did?
Yeah, so the question is, what programs or anything in college did I go through to prepare me for being an entrepreneur? So at that point in time, there really weren't entrepreneurship programs. I took an entrepreneurship class where I had to essentially invent a product and build a business plan against it. I will tell you, at that point, I invented the iPad, but I get no credit. But anyway, I think entrepreneurship programs are incredibly helpful. I know you guys have a seminar here, which I've spoken to that group in the past, and it's about developing a different way of thinking. It's about solving problems. There are some people that are, and I'll use Missy as an example, my wife. So Missy and I are both entrepreneurs, but we're different types of entrepreneurs. She's somebody that can take a problem and fix it and solve something and perfect it, right? She takes something existing and makes it better. That's a certain type of entrepreneur. There are other entrepreneurs, and I would put myself in this category, that are more abstract, right? You think about a problem that exists and you think about how broadly to solve that problem. I think these types of entrepreneurs need each other, right? I kind of saw the opportunity in bed sheets, but I don't think I would have gotten out of square one if I didn't have somebody like Missy that actually knew how to make the thing, right? And could actually make it great. So I will tell you that more than an entrepreneurship class or a program, it's about reading. Read as much as you can. I have never met an entrepreneur who is well-read that is not successful. Yeah?
What was your most popular game that you made?
Yeah, so the question is, what's the most popular game I made? Most popular game was Candy Stand Mini Golf. It was a miniature golf game online. The most popular iPhone game we had was called Vector TD, or Vector Tower Defense, which was loosely based on the tower defense mode within Warcraft. If any of you are super nerds, you know what I'm talking about. But that game became so popular, we launched it on iPhone, we launched it on PlayStation, and it did really well. It's still online, Vector TD.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tannen. We have a small token of our
Thank
appreciation.
you. Oh, this is so nice.
And I believe you have the final word.
As the tradition goes, seniors first. Thank you guys very much for having me.